Dominica's High Court rules against stopping Friday's elections. Bolivian citizens lament the departure of Cuban doctors from the country after the coup. And the impeachment report on U.S. President Donald Trump accuses him of abusing power. Hello and welcome to Telesur English. I am Estefania Bravo and this is From the South. The High Court in Dominica has denied a request from the opposition for an injunction to stop Friday's general election from going forward. Judge Bernie Stevenson ruled that since the president of Dominica, Charles Savarin, had already issued a right to hold the elections, the High Court could not intervene. The petition was filed by the Concerned Citizens Movement, or CCM, which reflects the views of the UWP opposition party. Lawyers for the CCM have already said they will appeal the decision. This could mean the case ends up going to the Caribbean Court of Justice in Trinidad and Tobago.
A plant called the rosemary. It used to grow wild.
Our correspondent Alejandro Kirk has more.
Yes, Dominica's High Court today rejected a motion to postpone the elections due this week on Friday because the court says it has no such authority. The motion was introduced by the Concerned Citizens Movement, an opposition civil society organization allied to the United Workers' Party, which is trying to stop these elections on the grounds of some irregularities that they claim there are in the electoral registry and in the electoral system of this country. The motion will now go to the appeals court in St. Lucia, and it is unlikely that we'll ever reach the higher Caribbean court in Trinidad and Tobago. Meanwhile, in the locality, the circumscription of Manigot, near the airport, there have been more roadblocks in order to stop people from coming from the airport to the capital, Roseau.
We thank Alejandro Kirk for that update. On Monday night, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit addressed the nation and called on opposition leaders and supporters to stop trying to prevent Friday's elections.
Night after night, at the public meetings, the UWP has been telling the supporters that there is no certainty there will be elections on the 6th. This attempt to stop the elections was very much part of the narrative the UWP has been feeding to external forces and to the Secretary General of the OAS to try to justify and obtain outside interference in Dominica's elections, particularly by the OAS.
Referring to latest opposition protests, the Prime Minister and the security forces would act with restraint, but would not let things get out of hand.
The government of Dominica has every confidence that local security forces are fully competent and committed to exercising the skill and restraint required in the face of these acts of provocation. They will maintain safety and law and order in our country. They will not let the situation get out of hand and a few people tarnish Dominica's good name. Fellow Dominicans, I want to remind everyone, for absolute clarity, that the laws under which these elections are taking place have governed national elections in Dominica, no matter which party was in government or opposition. In 41 years of independence, Dominica's elections have always been free and fair. Have always been free and fair. This time will be no different.
The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, or ALBA, says it is concerned about attempts to interfere in the domestic affairs of Suriname. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza tweeted a communique in which ALBA condemns the manipulation of a legal process that is still in course to try to block President Desi Bouterres from standing for a re-election next year. Last Friday, a court convicted the president of murder, but he said that the charges were a political game and is appealing. Alba criticized the governments of Germany, the Netherlands, the United States, and others for interfering in a matter which is the exclusive concern of the people and authorities of Suriname. On Tuesday, the member nations of the Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance met in Bogotá, Colombia, to discuss new interventionist actions against Venezuela. During the meeting, the foreign ministers of the TR nations agreed to continue their attacks on the Bolivarian nation. Among the measures are continued persecution against Venezuelan government officials and further economic sanctions, which are promoted by the Organization of American States. To Bolivia now, where thousands of patients in the city of El Alto were left without access to health care after a Cuban doctor's mission was ejected from the country. Let's have a look.
Benita is 61 years old. She's been selling food for 36 years in El Alto. And from her stall, she saw how the public hospital was built, where over 20 Cuban doctors looked after people every day.
When they first came here, they worked as construction workers. They built the place themselves.
Hundreds of patients were given free access to healthcare, even coming from Peru. But hours after the coup against President Evo Morales, the de facto president Janine Áñez ejected the Cuban mission and left the people of El Alto without their clinic.
We came here to see the doctors, with any illness we may have. We no longer have access to specialized medicine because it's expensive and people in El Alto do not have the resources.
The community hospital, Chacaltaya, is located in El Alto. Here, hundreds of healthcare professionals learned their skills thanks to a cooperation agreement between Bolivia and Cuba. This also involved the Milagro mission, under which thousands of citizens recovered their vision free of charge.
They were good doctors. There were many patients here. People without any money could get medical treatment. How could they say they were terrorists? I miss the doctors. Now patients come, but they get nothing.
Since the Cuban delegation left, this hospital is empty, and the workers that are left have been given orders to remain quiet. There is one general physician and 3 dentists who remain here. Bettina recalls when she would get checked here and was also given free medicine.
Anytime I came here with any ailment, they would always treat me and give me medicine. There used to be long lines here.
Since the first cooperation agreement was made between Cuba and Bolivia, thousands of doctors have provided medical care to the citizens here, with over 73 million appointments and more than 1.5 million surgeries. In this way, the legacy of the Cuban doctors will not be easily forgotten.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the Sun. Colombia's strike committee has delivered its demands to President Iván Duque at a closed-door meeting following the November 21st national strike. One environmental leader lamented that the forum did not allow the nation to participate.
I deeply regret that you're the one to set the tone for these talks and that you're not in tune with what the people are demanding. This should not be a closed meeting. We ask for a live broadcast. This should be a space for people to be heard. Like those who protest outside your home every night, Mr. President.
Carlos Santiago also noted that the committee will not continue with negotiations.
When will you fulfill your campaign promises to end fracking and create policies to protect our wetlands? And we urge you to listen to what young people are demanding. It's mostly young people and women out there. It's a call rooted in love and affection, a plea for you to take on this challenge. We will continue to take to the streets until you understand, Mr. President, that environmental issues are a priority.
Finally, he demanded that the government stop the persecution of peaceful protesters by riot police, as he recalled the murder of 18-year-old Dylan Cruz.
We want anti-riot police to stop violating our rights and for there to never be another Dylan Cruz. I told you at a meeting on Tuesday, and I repeat, it was your decision, Mr. President, your decision that ended the life of 18 minors in Caqueta. It was your decision to disperse a peaceful demonstration, and until we address what anti-riot police have done, we cannot continue with any negotiations.
Thousands of cases of police brutality have emerged in Chile since anti-government protests began in mid-October. But with no formal way to make complaints, there are no reliable figures and most victims have not received medical care.
We don't know most of their names, but like Violette, hundreds of Chileans have been brutally beaten and left unconscious by the police. There are no records of detention, no confirmation of injuries or of medical attention. On Friday, November the 22nd, Violeta Gonzalez took part in demonstrations like she had done every afternoon since the mobilization started. With a slim build, small stature, soft voice and a quiet personality, Violette was suddenly surrounded by special forces. Her face will never be the same, but her conviction remains intact. We visited her home, where she has waited for medical treatment for more than 1 week.
I don't know the extent of damage to my eyes. I don't know if I have damage to my brain that will affect my cognitive abilities. I'm a student, a worker, and a craftswoman. What they did has stopped me from doing everything that makes me who I am. The public health service sent me home claiming that I have minor injuries, but when I visited a private clinic, I was told that my injuries are serious and that it will take me at least 2 years to recover.
The Gabriela Mistral Cultural Center is the focal point of demonstrations. It also serves as a shelter for health groups. The walls are stained with the remnants of police brutality, and it was here that Violette was attacked.
I walked 2 steps, and the only thing I saw was 2 policemen, and then I felt blows to my face. I fell and couldn't hear anything. There was a child that was being beaten in front of me. I don't know how long I remained unconscious for, but when I came to, a boy was shouting while being beaten. The more he cried, the harder he was hit. I managed to run to the opposite side, where there was a group of people.
Diana, a student studying obstetrics, went out for the first time as part of a medical group.
I saw a girl hugging another girl, and she had her hand covered in blood. That's when I realized that the police were behind us, and a group was coming towards us. I approached the girl and asked her what happened. I saw the police getting closer. I grabbed her and made her run, and we came here.
There were dozens injured, and still police continued to repress them, inflicting additional suffering with tear gas, toxic water and beatings. Residents of Las Taria neighborhood opened their homes to provide them with refuge from the chaos.
They are massacring us. We can't overstate what's happening. Violet said they have messed up her life. Look at how many people have lost their eyes. And they are going to tell me that there are no systematic violations to human rights happening here?
Violette has her nose shattered, and she still hasn't been given medical attention. She has no confirmation of her injuries. There is no record of her attackers.
If anyone saw me and has some record or is willing to make a statement, please, I ask you to contact us. The National Institution of Human Rights and the prosecution are asking us if we at least know which squad it was. I don't have the knowledge because I lost consciousness.
This is the voice of victims against the state and its police institutions.
1 week has passed. Gentleman from the broad front. My daughter, a wonderful woman that never hurt anyone, who would never kill a fly. Her nose is shattered. This is your agreement for peace, not mine. You found a worst enemy. Do you know who are your worst enemies? All the mothers of this country that have lost their children.
Gloria was a victim of the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, and today her daughter has lived through the same evils that never went away.
I feel like the dictatorship did not end. The dictatorship has not ended. They tricked us. We have lived 46 years under dictatorship, not 30, as some say. We have lived 46 years in a dictatorship that defended Pinochet's legacy.
We are not at war, but we are in a dictatorship disguised as a democracy. They are killing us, they are torturing us, they are leaving us blind, but they are not going to win because we realized that dignity is not the crumbs they gave us.
They say they will not surrender despite the threats, violence and the silence from the mass media.
They have pointed guns to my face many times, at less than 5 meters, and I lost my fear of that. My family tells me to stop doing what I'm doing, but I know my place is here, with the people I have to help, and I will not leave the street.
Por favor, no tenga miedo.
Please don't be afraid. This is being done by the state and the police who are supposed to care for us. And they are killing us and torturing us. But don't be afraid. Show what is happening in your countries. Please, among all Latin America, let's join together because we will win what we deserve.
Far from keeping them quiet, state violence has given these citizens strength.
Antigua and Barbuta's Prime Minister plans to take legal action against Dr. Arnold McIntyre, a deputy chief in the IMF's Western Hemisphere office. This after McIntyre allegedly made defamatory comments about regional leaders, including calling Brown corrupt, in a WhatsApp voice note that has been shared on social media.
I said, so what led you to make to come to this conclusion, to make this statement on WhatsApp to some individual that I am corrupt? Where is the evidence that I have been involved in any corruption? Where is the evidence that I have abused the Antigua CIP program?
What was his response?
Boy, I'm so ashamed to answer, right? The man danced around the bush. He said, well, you know, I could not have made a statement in WhatsApp, you know, Prime Minister. I could not have made such a statement. So I was saying to myself, okay, he didn't make it a WhatsApp. Well, whatever forum or whatever medium that he utilized, the reality is his voice. And I writing to the IMF to ask him to fire him. It is actually the type of offense that could result in his termination. I think it is reprehensible. And if you hear what he says about some of the prime ministers in this region, it is reprehensible. You know, and for one, I'm not going to sit back and take it. I'm going after him, and he have to prove that it's not him on that tape. And by the way, I'm likely to get my lawyer to write him as well.
In Trinidad, local government elections have ended with a 7-7 tie between the ruling People's National Movement and opposition United National Congress. However, the PNM, which previously held 8 municipalities, is claiming victory on the basis of winning more seats than the UNC. They secured 74 seats, while the UNC got 65. The opposition is also celebrating a victory, having attained more votes and snatching a PNM victory.
We must remember that they outspent us 100 to 1. They outspent us with 100 to 1. In the air, on the TV, on the radio, ad nauseum, every minute of every hour of every day. But once again, what these elections show, that nothing is greater than the people, and we remain on the ground with the people. So whilst it is nice to have money to spend, money can't buy you love. And they found that out today.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. 23 people were killed and dozens injured after a gas tank exploded at a factory in Sudan. The explosion happened at a tile manufacturing factory located north Khartoum. Preliminary investigation by authorities say the tragedy could have been caused by a lack of adequate safety equipment at the site.
When the fire happened, we were near the factory. We went out for breakfast and we felt a quake. We tried to enter, but we were surprised by the fire. All the workers rushed and fled the scene of the fire.
Ivory Coast political activist Atali Yam has been expelled from the West African country. Yam was deported back to Switzerland, where she lived before coming to Ivory Coast. This comes after her recent criticism of French presence in Africa and the use of the CFA franc currency. Authorities said they expelled her because she had acted in a manner incompatible with the national interest. U.S. Senator Kamala Harris has dropped out of the presidential race ahead of next year's presidential elections. She abandoned a campaign that has recently faltered as she struggled to raise money and make a compelling case for her candidacy. Her departure further narrows the field of contenders 2 months before voting for the Democratic nomination begins in Iowa.
And say, we need you to solve these environmental problems.
The United States House Intelligence Committee has released an impeachment report asserting that President Donald Trump abused his power by trying to enlist Ukraine to help him in the 2020 presidential race. The report cites 2 instances of improper conduct: obstruction of the House inquiry and withholding aid from Ukraine on the condition of investigating one of Trump's political rivals. Regardless, the document makes clear that another panel must decide whether to recommend Trump's impeachment and removal from office. Hundreds of people gathered in London's Trafalgar Square to protest against U.S. President Donald Trump and NATO. Protesters blocked roads as they held placards reading "Dump Trump" and "No to Racism." Protesters also marched to Buckingham Palace, where NATO leaders were gathering for a reception.
It is quite ridiculous because it's promoting the unjustifiable murders of people, and having somebody like Trump come and kind of voice his opinions and views, knowing the type of person he is and the type of things he promotes, and the views he simply has for even women, is a bit concerning, and just not very confident about what he has to say.
Climate change activists continue protesting in Spain as the COP25 UN Climate Change Summit entered its second day. A group of protesters submerged themselves in a fountain in central Madrid to call for action against global warming. Others wore life jackets to demonstrate the urgent need for addressing climate change. World leaders are meeting in Madrid for a 2-week conference to discuss solutions for the environmental crisis. Running parallel to the COP25 UN conference is the second day of the Summit of the Peoples continued in Santiago, Chile. Under the slogan "Save the Earth, Change the System," the People's Summit hopes to address ways to fight climate change as well as the ongoing social crisis in Chile. Several forums against extractivism and to promote alternative development models are scheduled to take place during the week-long event. And with that, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Until next time.